Okay, Nigel, you want to come up here and sit with us? You don't have to be. Just sit there and look charming. Say yes and say yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. change. And so and one of the things that they've done is they've the
Thank you.
latest issue of Oceanography has is all from Sea Grant. And one of the stories in there, one of the articles is about storytelling in the field. And it's working with Sea Grant communicators and how important it is that they aren't just collecting numbers and data, but they're also collecting people's stories so that when they do address place attachment and relocation and some really tough issues, that they have some of the sensitivity that they need. And anyway, I just thought it was really interesting. I know that Mary and Ann and I had talked about this in the past in different ways, but maybe there's opportunities for us around storytelling and bringing somebody in around that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I'll do that. Thank you. Oh,
Just because I wonder if historical would be up for storytelling time for an evening this summer, something like that. It's, you know, as a means of gathering people for public outreach and in this vein.
which is exactly what we were talking about with the sand across from the beach. And it's like, oh, okay, that's different. I don't like it. But it might, I mean, there might be other reasons they don't like it, but that was the first one that came out, was like, it's different. I used to be able to sit at Solviken and see the ocean.
Right, and it has a lot to do with our history, right, of how we control the shore and the water and what matters and what is defined as something that matters. Is marshland something that matters? No, because it was never considered buildable or usable in that regard. So that's a really broad and interesting thing to pull from.
And I like us to just keep this in our minds at whatever we do, that we're being sensitive to this and to people's stories and to what's important to them. And I just thought it was really interesting. So I thought, in terms of public comment and anything else. Does anyone else have anything for the public comment period? That was all I wanted to raise. Okay. Next is approval of the minutes from April 16th. And we didn't print any of those out, but you guys hopefully have all read it. Can I hear a motion to approve the minutes? Well, okay, but we'll come back for that. First, okay, Valerie moves. Ann seconds, thank you. And then Mary, you had some changes?
I like sharing the microphone. Jin Jeremiah is spelled Geremia. I think it was spelled with an H. I can't remember, but it was not right. And do you want to give him a title? A town engineer? And I don't know if you want to give Mike Shea a title, Director of Public Works. Why not? It's a great title. What do you think, Mike? It's okay. Just sometimes when their names are in there without a title. Right. Your new title, Director of Public Works? And then just one other thing, and this came from Jim in the January town council meeting. I think in the minutes we refer to it as flooding, but he refers to it as pooling. So I looked up both of the words. They're very different. And he referred to the work that you did in pumping as a resolution for the pooling, which means I think it's coming from rainwater, just pooling there, as opposed to, I think what we used in the minutes was the word flooding, which means it came from, you know, the sea and flooded that area or stream. So just to use the word pooling instead of flooding. That's all I got.
Anything else? Thank you. Those are great. Okay, so we have a motion we've had a discussion. All in favor of approving the minutes with Mary's changes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, committee member updates. Does anybody have anything from the town council? I do not. I did attend the financial town meeting last night. Very interesting. And as you know, we're flat funded, but what was really nice at the meeting last night was that Keith got up and talked about the future. So Keith is the first warden, got up and spoke about the future and referred very loosely to the need for skills in the area of coastal resilience and climate resilience. So it was very nice. He was just got up and spoke, and I was like, well, that's what I wanted to say. So that was really good. And so it's really good that it's coming from the council. Now, this is a much bigger one, a status and update from the town planner. And we have Allison with us. Thank you, Allison, for joining us. And thank you, Allison, for printing out the NIFWF, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, not Federation, I always get that mixed up, grant and the request, and then the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank request with all the attachments. There are two budgets on there. The one is the one we submitted, and then one is the reduced budget. So thank you very much for pulling all of that together, Allison, and sending it to us, because there were lots of questions
Sure.
about that at our previous meeting.
Yeah, hopefully that was helpful. So just get a reminder and better understanding as to the scope of those two grants, and as far as next steps, it's developing the RFP, which I'm hoping this week I'll have a draft to circulate to others for their input, and we can then advertise that. So that's the next step. I mean, also working with the as I mentioned, if the infrastructure bank has some language that will need to go into the RFP, and so we're just trying to bring that all together now as the next step for those two grant programs to advertise them together. I don't know if anyone had any specific questions with all the material.
Is the grant agreement signed now? Has it started?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, both grants have been executed.
okay. So what is the duration? What's the
The
start?
The
start and
um,
the grants.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you that well. Is there a
Sorry,
mic?
The
Yep.
start and end dates.
I'd have to look back at yeah, I mean, at least a year with possibility of extensions. I don't know offhand. I can look through the documents and email everyone that information, but
I don't remember either.
yeah.
But typically, typically if, you haven't finished the work, you get an extension, a no-cost extension. And because it's a grant and not a contract, it's much easier to make those kinds of accommodations. You don't have to, once it's granted to you, it's your money. It's not like a contract where it's still the other person's money. So that's why they're really careful with us to get an idea, and we try and keep as much flexibility as possible in the language.
And I think the time frame certainly was over a year as far as for that
Yes.
scope of work for that planning, for the infrastructure bank, NIFWF, the timeframes were over a year, I believe. So
So go ahead.
So this page 8 and 9 has a timeline. Is this the timeline? Is it still accurate? Like concept development, public engagement would be around August?
or NIFWF, you have it as NIFWF? Is that what you have in front of you?
No, this is Infrastructure Bank. She's looking
Infrastructure
at.
Bank, August as the start. I mean, that's,
Well-
is that,
No, she's saying there's a timeline in there, like public engagement is in August.
It says task 1, initiation in March of this year, site survey in June, coastal modeling December, but then it says concept development, public engagement in August of 2024, design development, December 2024.
Yeah,
Just
I
wondering
mean,
whether this is more or less still the timeline.
it's probably bumped back. Did you read off a March start date?
Yes,
Yes.
So obviously it's May, so yeah, it's going to
Okay.
be, yeah.
So
we
it's-
still need to get it
everything's
May.
slipping.
Okay.
Everything's slipping. And we want to do, in terms of community engagement, we already have our planning an event in August, which we can certainly talk about this at the event. And then, we do different kinds of outreach to the people who live here year round versus the people who are here in the summer. And so we could probably, like before, we can do something with the people, the year rounders. I'd really like to figure that out. Also, Allison sent us a opportunity in the municipal resilience program for designing for resilience technical assistance. So they're offering grants for technical assistance, and this request is, or the letters of intent or whatever are due May 17th. So we do not have enough time. Hey, Corey, we do not have enough time to, we can't have a meeting about it. Okay. So what I would like to do is, because I'm not going to be here, I'd like to assign a couple of people to work with Allison. And I want to tell you what we've been talking about doing. We're thinking about getting technical assistance for Bridgegate Square. Somebody to come in and do redesign. They're looking for nature-based solutions. Is there anything we can do there? We've got tons of infrastructure in that area. We looked at other areas, but this one was the one that had the most infrastructure and seemed like the most urgent need for maybe some technical assistance. Because there's so much there. Anyway, so Glennie has volunteered to work, and Claire is not here today, but Claire has worked with us on other grants, so I was going to see if she was interested. And Nigel, I was wondering if you would be interested. Okay, so this is due May 17th, and basically it would be that you review the letter of intent.
I spoke with Allison and Judy, and so I'm going to be, hopefully between Allison and I will be drafting it. So we just want some input from at least someone on the Sea Level Rise Committee.
Because neither of them are on the committee. They just. We'll send it to you, and if you can't do it, then yeah.
It's a simple, there's a few questions. So Glennie,
Yeah.
she's gonna draft up something and I'll read through it next week.
Last time I did it, as a reviewer and answering questions, it took me like half an hour. Yeah, it wasn't a big job. It was just like everything in our head getting on the paper. And I'll ask.
An opportunity, we
Claire.
just didn't want, it's pretty simple to submit something. We just didn't want the opportunity to pass, and they're only selecting a few statewide, so I don't know, obviously what the chances are of getting selected, but I think it makes sense to submit something, and then it's, they'll do a site visit, and there might be a couple of follow-up meetings after that. And I think mostly it's to get a project, help communities kind of identify a project and get it to the point where it's more, grant ready for implementation for funding in the future. So this is something that communities have raised in the past with the funding that's been available through the MRP, action grants, is that they were looking for shovel ready projects. So I think this new program just launched yesterday. I just have an email about it. Is getting those projects more ready for implementation. So we'll try to come up with something over the next week.
Yeah, so this is the Municipal Resilience Program, MRP. And this was a little bit of a surprise. Kim Correa mentioned something about it, but it went by so quickly. I don't think any of us caught it. And then it was like, whoa, an opportunity. But there's not a lot of money in it as has been described by Allison.
So when will it be ready for?
The hope is that we should have something for you to review by the end of the week and maybe around the week after this one, in order to hit that May 17th deadline.
Yes, okay, because I'm leaving on Thursday of
Oh.
the 16th essentially.
Oh, yeah, so we'd get it to you before then,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, should be fine.
Awesome. Anything else, Allison?
Only other thing that I know I've had on the agenda, the hazard mitigation plan, the town has hired a consultant, Kim Jacobs, to complete the plan for New Shore. So she will be kicking that off very, very soon. I'm gonna reach out to her, but she was selected, town council, has awarded that contract, so.
And this
um,
is for the comprehensive plan?
Sorry, the hazard mitigation
Hazard
plan, the
mitigation.
FEMA 5-year, yes, required hazard mitigation plan update. So she does great work, and so I'm looking forward to her starting the process. And I'm sure the Sea Level Rise Committee will be certainly engaged in part of that to provide input on the issues that you're tackling and, the vulnerabilities and potential projects to be included in that plan.
Sorry, Allison, when is that one due? The hazard mitigation plan? When does it have to be submitted?
Well, it's a required 5-year update, so it's already, it's been 5 years since it was last adopted, so
But I mean,
it'll
the
it'll
update,
be
when
the
is
update.
Yeah,
When is it due? Well,
so
her
like-
timeframe is about I think it's about a 6-month process. I'd have to look back, but the current plan is already expired, so it'll be once it's adopted, 6 to 8 month timeframe possibly, it'll then be good for 5 years.
And we've had meetings when I first joined the committee, we had meetings on the hazard mitigation plan. We went through it. Allison's been through it. Look for sea level rise, where sea level rise is, where it should be. But there's always, more eyes. It's always appreciated but we have been involved with the development so far. And Allison, I want to make sure that we're also involved in the comprehensive plan as that, because I know that's coming up.
Yeah, probably next year, the town would have to start that
Yes.
update. It's a 10-year plan, so it's
Yeah.
2016 currently. So it's due in 2026. And
Yeah,
that
so
usually
I
takes
really
over a
would
year.
like I'd like
Yeah.
us to be woven all through that plan.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, yep, throughout. We had some overarching goals last time we adopted it, resiliency being one, I believe, and then there is a dedicated chapter to resiliency, an element of the plan.
Okay. Anything else for town council, town clerks, town planner? No? Okay. Item number 4, working group and point of contact reports. So I missed 4? Oh, yes. Yes, please. Oh, how could I do that? I went right past it.
All right, so in my time speaking with all of you, it definitely came up that there are a lot of public resources that you all have been using that maybe are just hard getting lost in the shuffle, and that information sharing has been kind of a challenge. So I just wanted to draw your attention that something that we've made recently is on the TNC's website. If you go, which is natureblockisland.org, there's a whole section of our website with coastal resiliency resources. And that page is primarily fueled by documents that have been sent to me by various members of the Sea Level Committee, both to enhance my education and as kind of a reference point. So there you can find reports, resources, tools, groups, and grants. That's kind of that first component of just those public resources to make sure they're all available and universal, including there's a section where anyone can submit files that they feel should be on that webpage. It's super easy. It's just a file drop. And then I'll be keeping an eye on that to make sure those go right up on the website. And then there's also a second page, which includes working folders. So you guys are obviously split into those working groups, which are 2 to 3 groups of people. And so if you go to that other page, you can flip through and look at the different working group sections and click on the folders. Anybody can click and look at the folders. However, the only people who have the ability to edit and upload files are the exact members of the working group. So that makes sure that there's no actual like discussion on a large scale that can happen on that platform. And again, that one I'm moderating that, so feel free if there are any issues. You should all be shared in the right folders, but if there are issues, let me know. We want to make sure everyone has the right permissions to do what they need and want to do. We're keeping it all squared away. Yes, so that's yes, Box is the platform that is hosted on. And so you can access that by going to the website, and then all the links will be Box links. So you can also just go right into Box yourself.
So it's the web, so you go to tnc.org,
It is natureblockisland.org.
Nature Block Island there.
But if you did something like Google TNC Block Island, we'd pop up. Yeah.
Oh,
And so that's, and as that resource can grow and expand, and it's pretty flexible. So if you have ideas for how that can become a more useful resource or tool, just let me know.
thank you very much.
Oh, yes, you may hit the password protection. That's just right now while I've been editing it. I'll make it public soon. It's SLR 2024. If you do bump into that.
Case.
All lowercase. Yeah,
It's a lot.
yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Like I said, it's
What a
really
relief.
of the inundation of information that I got from you all.
I gave her a memory stick with 4 gigs or something on it of, I gave her every file I just downloaded the whole folder onto the memory stick. So she's got it all. I told her the only thing she doesn't have is whatever I've sent to her in the week since I gave it to her. Anyway, thank you so much.
Is the community response, that's going to be open to everybody, right? With
Yes.
the Photographs.
Yeah, so that was, we were test driving, Valerie found, we were test driving Microsoft Forms, which is like a public form where people could upload pictures and put in public information. And again, that I get an email hit whenever anybody submits that. And that idea is that will be like publicly accessible, so not behind a password.
Looks great.
Wow. Thank you so much. Anything else for Glennie on web page discussion? I know I'm going to have fun with that. Oh, and there's Bimmy. Oh, how nice. Nice that you used a picture of Bimmy. Thank you for that. It's warm in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tonight.
Today's the 7th.
It's supposed to be a foot above. on the wall.
Uh-huh. Well, do you still have the, Valerie, do you guys still have the security system there that you can capture screenshots of?
We do, but we'll be there and we do have it.
Okay.
I'm having trouble, so it might just be me too.
Oh, okay. Because you've captured some, even remotely, you've captured some good pictures from there. Okay. All right, working groups and points of contact reports. The first one, Earth Day. Dun, dun, dun. Would you like me to say something about Earth Day since you have the other stuff to report on? So last year we asked everybody, where on Block Island are you most concerned about sea level rise? And this was the result. So this year we had tons of information about sea level rise, tons of pictures of inundation and and then articles about different solutions that I've been collecting over the years. And so we I better not get too far from the mic. So this year we asked them, okay, what could be done to address sea level rise on Block Island and where? And so you'll see there, we put stars, and then some people wrote themselves. A lot of time Mary or I would they would transcribe it from several paragraphs into 3 or 4 words, what they were trying to say. But it was really interesting. There are people who want us to dump rocks on the beach to protect the bluffs. There's a lot of interesting ideas out there. And we collected them all. A lot of the answers that we got were more holistic, like go electric. Like don't do anything, let nature take its course. Reduce, composting. A lot of people glommed onto the composting idea and reducing methane emissions and things like that. So it was really interesting. I encourage you to come up and look. I'll put together, I'm not going to do it right now because I'm about to leave on travel, but I'm going to put together a little summary of what's on there. I think that'll be really fun. So, and I'll present that to you guys, in June or July or whenever. But it was a really good day. We had a lot of people. I have no idea. Kim, how many people do you think were there? I have no idea. It was pretty well attended and it was loads of fun. It was nice, huh? Yeah, well, I think it was better that it was on the weekend instead of during the week. I think that really helped. Anyway, thank you, Mary, and to everybody who provided educational materials and stuff. Valerie and Sosha did a lot. Anything on Corn Neck Road besides what we heard from? No. Okay, yeah, well, we'll get to that one. Yeah. So community engagement in August 6th, Miss Ann.
Okay, so we've been busy planning and there's a summary document, 1-pager of what we've come up with so far, and we're
Did you get
eager to
that?
get feedback from other members of the committee. So this will be called, the working title is Coastal Erosion on Block Island. How do we adapt? It will be at BIMI, co-hosted by BIMI and Sea Level Rise Committee on Tuesday, August 6th. I put 6:30 to 8:30. I think we'd only talked about an hour and a half, but when I broke it down, I was like, oh, don't think I think we need a little more time, but that's open to discussion. The purpose is to share information with the broader community on the current and future trends regarding coastal erosion and ways to adapt, with the underlying intention of conveying a sense of urgency that's balanced with optimism and the ability to take action and adapt and build resilience. Encourage community engagement on the topic so that people feel heard and part of the process. So the audience is the public, but communications and outreach in advance will especially encourage attendance by island residents and property owners. The structure will be, we're going to have tables set up with reaching out to different groups to each have tables attended by someone with information and to engage with the participants. So there'll be some of that happening before the panel. And then we'll have welcome by Judy and a member of the town council. We'll be reaching out to find out who. And then we'll have a moderated panel moderated by Glennie. And we have 5 potential panelists listed here. One is, well, they're all sort of to be confirmed. Brian Oakley is confirmed. I don't know if the others are, or Julia's confirmed.
Julia Wyman, well, yeah, I haven't, she said yes, but it's not confirmed.
So
I wouldn't get, I still haven't sent her the invitation yet.
So Brian Oakley, geologist, I think everyone's familiar with. Pam Rubinoff or someone else from Rhode Island Sea Grant, Coastal Engagement and Coastal Zone Management. Caitlin Chafee or other person from the DEM. Nature Conservancy. I missed a T there. And yeah, I already said Julia Wyman, who's the director of the Rhode Island Sea Grant Legal Program and director of Marine Affairs at Roger Williams University of Law, University School of Law. Then we'll have a Q&A session. So we'll encourage people to, in advance, to share their questions, and we'll have cards on each chair. And we'll, members of this committee will collect and help the moderator to moderate the Q&A. And then there'll be a reception afterward, again, with the ability for participants to engage with the panelists and other people with tables. So we've divided up our roles within the little subcommittee and with Glennie's help, and Valerie's pulled into this too. So panelist outreach and coordination is Judy and Glennie. Logistics, materials, refreshments is Valerie and Judy. Communications and outreach is me and Glennie. Decorations, Mary. Table coordination, Mary and Bimmy. So that's where we are right now, and would love to hear
And-
people's feedback and
Valerie, I will be glued to you for the 2 weeks before we do this. Trying to make sure that everything is A-okay. Is it okay if we use the Bimmy sound and projection system and, okay. And I know you have lots of tables.
A couple of things I would say, communications and outreach, I know you have the two of you, but we have a large constant contact list and a lot of our own, so happy to help you with that also.
Oh, good.
For the outreach ahead of time. And then we obviously have people that come usually every Tuesday night anyway, so that's part of that constant contact outreach. And to be the little bit of the downer on this thing, we need, with these events, lots of help with setup and cleanup.
yeah.
So,
And I'll be on site
Corey's there too.
to
yes.
help without signing up for. But I live down there.
Yes, and Valerie, I will cover the cost of the cleaning lady. You know, I know there's some incidental costs on the Bimmy side that I'll take care of those costs. Yes, Nigel.
So I just had a question about Brian's. So in the agenda, we have Brian as giving the Bimmy talk, and is that now no longer the case, that this is going to be replaced by the panel? And I'm just wondering if we're losing something by having him not give a talk. I think he gives a good talk,
Mhm.
and I think sometimes it's clearer, the information that comes over when someone with his sort of expertise gives a talk. That's all.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's a possibility. I mean, we could, messing around with Ann's very carefully done scheduling, but I mean, we could start with Brian doing like, not a long talk, but a talk and then about like what's happened in this last year, and then have the panel so that everybody's responding to that.
And I think when we spoke to him,
Mhm.
he's thinking he's doing a talk.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was
Yeah. Okay.
asked to do.
Right.
Yes.
And
Okay. We're good with that. I think that's a really good idea well, I think that they need to, introduce themselves and why they care about this and why they're there and they're and something short. We were already going to have them all say something short about what they were doing. And, always with a panel, they give a presentation first, but I think Brian should almost be like a keynote and then the panel.
Right now, there's only.
Right. So what if we didn't put an end time on it and we just said it started at 6 and we had the talk and the panel and then
so we talked a little bit about people liking things the way.
way they are.
So and you're gonna get a bigger audience if you have a 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right, so if you.
It's usually 7 o'clock talk. Yeah.
30 to 45 minutes with 15 minutes of Q&A.
So how about this? I think that's great. So how about this? How about if we open the doors at like 6 with the tables and have people dribbling in and interacting at the tables, and then at 7, Brian speaks and then we go into the panel and we don't, but maybe he speaks for 20 or 30 minutes and then we have the panel when they each talk for about 10 minutes and then we interact with
I
them.
don't think you can give them 10 minutes. I think you're gonna lose people. We've seen it.
Okay,
So I don't know the answer to it.
Yeah.
I do know that people are gonna expect the talk to start at 7.
that's
Right?
really
So
good
if you did it
advice.
earlier, you would lose people.
Hmm.
If you did it a little later, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but if you did
Right.
it earlier, you'd lose people. But if, I guess my thought would be, maybe you have the panel introduce themselves, that's up there.
Mhm.
Let Brian do his talk.
Yes,
And then where we usually have that Q&A, where they get to say a few minutes, I wouldn't go 10 minutes each, it's too long, people won't stay.
right. So what we really wanted to do was to get the panel, I think that's great, introduce themselves, then Brian talks, so they each get their time to say something, then Brian talks. And then we were hoping that people would go back to the tables, like
Right.
Brian would go back to his table and Julia and Pam, and that hopefully people, and it would stay and interact at the
And
tables.
staying later, especially if there's refreshments. I don't
Yeah,
mind.
we will have
People can
refreshments.
Stay and go to the tables. But I think if you have people talking,
Correct.
you've seen them. You've
Yeah.
been there when you hit that 7:45 or 8 o'clock.
And people
when you're
just
done.
wander out. Yeah,
So you get a handful of people that want to stay, or not a handful, a smaller group than the,
right.
but you're just, if it's a lot of talking, they're just going to be.
So what's the nature of the refreshments? Because that also makes a sort of a difference. No, I know, I mean,
What would
are
you
we expecting
suggest?
To have to have eaten before we arrive?
Yes,
Uh,
yes, these are snacks,
Then, okay, so then,
snacks and wine and beer.
and so that should
and
just,
typically, of course, the speaker goes off to dead eyes.
right,
and
we usually take the.
So
speaker
barely
off.
makes it into the room by 7:05.
And you're not gonna get dinner with this one, but we could maybe bring in dinner for him.
Oh, we'll take care of Brian, no problem.
But if, as long as you tell people ahead of time.
Yeah.
Beer, wine and snacks.
Snacks, yeah.
Um,
Did you get, okay, that's all we talked about, right? Was beer.
But I'm a little confused. So what are we doing with the pins? We're not giving them any time to speak or?
Yeah,
Do we
Well-
want to like get rid?
if they're introducing themselves, I guess that's my question. If they're introducing themselves before Brian talks, is that enough if they're gonna be at their tables where people want to go and speak to them? Rather than if you do 5-10 minutes each, that's an hour.
Yeah, I just
Everyone's
wonder if we're
each.
trying to fit in too much. is the
Yeah.
problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if they introduce themselves and then you can go back and talk to them at their tables, but I don't think you can have Brian speak and do a talk and do a panel. I think we could consider doing 2 different days. We could have Brian speak on one day and have a panel another day. I mean, I'd be open to that, like as far as using the room. But I think if you do this, just given my experience with the groups, it's gonna be too much if you do both.
What if it wasn't set up like a panel? If we went back to that other idea? So I hear you and I appreciate so much your experience there.
yeah.
If it wasn't a panel, I think it might encourage people to stay because they
And
can
talk.
interact. I agree with you, at 45 minutes, people are leaving.
Yeah.
Because it's a panel, it's easy to walk away from a panel. But if we broke up that panel, would that work? Or is Nigel right, should we just have Brian? It's nice to have Brian speak for a chunk of the time and have a few other people speak to the issues that he's gonna bring up.
Mhm.
Would be really helpful, I think, to people who are attending this, because they're going to want to ask specific questions to Brian that maybe Pam would help answer as well. Can we do
Sort of
that?
like
And under-
respondents or.
And yeah, I think either way, if you introduce everybody.
We can't, you can, please get the
Yeah,
microphone
sorry,
pushed.
If you introduce everybody, Brian speaks, that brings up questions, and they're all at their tables for question and answer afterwards. I think you're gonna get more participation with interaction.
Yeah.
I would much rather speak to Judy face to face than speak to Judy from the audience. And that's what we see with a lot of people. They want to hang back and talk to the speakers. Or like I said, we could possibly do a second day, but I do think you end up losing people then. So I think you're better off to have Brian speak and then people go back to their tables. Introduce everybody so they know who they are up front. He's gonna speak and we'll publish it that way where they know exactly what's coming up for this particular. meeting
Okay.
for this daily.
I do too.
No, it's fine.
No, that's,
And Brian having his own table.
yeah.
Right.
Because then when you picture yourself as a guest there, as you're helping us to do very well, thank you. You can imagine yourself being very interested in Brian's discussion, but maybe having a question for Pam Rubinoff. So after Brian speaks, I'm just making up this timeline for 25 minutes, then you can go speak to him at a table, or you can speak to Pam, or you can speak to Caitlin Chafee. You're going to go to that table of interest and you're going to wait for your opportunity to do that. You're not going to leave the room. I like that, that choreography.
I'm curious, Judy, these 4 folks, do they think they're coming for a panel talking? Do they think they're sitting at a table?
Oh, I have not committed, I've been real careful to let them know that we haven't planned this yet.
Element of it being kind of like worth it for them to spend the amount of time it takes them to come out here and spend a night here if they're just gonna not speak publicly, if they're gonna be kind of at a table, they might lose.
Well, for example, Julia might send somebody else out, not come herself, if it's just sitting at a table and not, highlighting their
It's
work.
interesting though, the way I see that table sit down is like your own private
Consult-
consultation with
Yeah.
someone, which I don't know, am I stuck on a bad idea?
No,
And
I mean, unless the panelists are sort of known to the audience, are they going to be sought out, individually at tables? And especially if there's as many as you're sort of suggesting here, that's a big dilution factor. And I sort of wonder if a smaller number of people, where
Okay.
there's therefore, bound to be more interest per person, might turn
Yeah.
out to be better. I think the other thing that maybe one should do almost before one finalizes on the program is actually, having invited Brian, ask, I mean, I don't know what was he told when he was invited?
George is not here.
and I've spoken with them and I mean,
I mean,
well, I told him I was interested in this year's erosion.
I'm sure he's going to talk about the erosion studies on the island. And, he's basically been giving a talk around, the northeast sort of coastal communities, including the data that have been obtained on this island. And, I'm sure that's what he imagines people on the island are going to be most interested in. Now, obviously, it's talking about the problem. It's not really talking about solutions. And, I don't know how one segues from one to the other smoothly in a way that then gets, people going
So
to the.
Well, that's for us to figure out.
back to my suggestion, maybe we do 2 different days. They
Yeah.
don't all have to be this. Brian speaking doesn't have to be.
Yeah, the challenge is that I really wanted Brian to be there for the other
Do
day.
you think if we did them to?
Would
back
he
to
come?
back?
I guess
I-
the question is,
if he-
would he come for a second time? He loves to come to Block Island.
I know, I know, it's just his schedule.
Yeah, well, but it's at least in the summer. He doesn't teach in the summer. So, he does have much more flexibility.
let's-
He has kids, obviously, too. but
I'm going to
sometimes he's even brought them.
leave this in the capable hands of Mary and Anne and work with Valerie in particular. She's got so much experience with how to make this work at BIMI and what people's expectations are. And,
They-
oh, and that's the only one Brian can do.
So they are booked for the summer. Now, if we're looking more for outreach to islanders that are here year round, or at least that own their homes part-time, we could easily do a September follow-up. If
Neat.
somebody could come out for that, or we could do, we're open 7 days a week. We could,
like the solutions focus in September.
what does everybody think?
There you go.
Yes,
What's the problem with, yeah, where's the problem? What do you want to do about it?
I think September is a good idea and or picking a different night that isn't the Tuesday night crowd.
Okay, because that is a specific crowd.
Crowd, they come, they see who they want to see, they have their snack and then they go to dinner. So having another night where other people might put it into their schedule with this bigger panel and tables and information.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that.
Me too.
I mean, it will certainly gain more value out of the individuals. I think trying to squeeze it all into one is just
Absolutely.
really
Okay,
overdoing it.
So the 6 days as Brian and Cindy, and then it's the usual thing, we're not really involved in that September.
we can do that.
Well, and I would encourage everybody to come. But no, it might be nice to tell the audience that the Sea Level Rise Committee is here.
Yeah,
And maybe that's the follow-up. We don't have to impose on people, but that we have Brian's here to speak to you. The Sea Level Rise Committee's here also to speak with you if you'd like to. Please stick around and talk with us.
All right, we've got some work to do.
yes, and
Sorry about that, guys.
wow. This was great. I mean, no, you guys, this was fantastic because, yeah, this is.
That's why we brought it to you.
Yes, we were in a groove and now we're not, we're in a different groove now. That's good. Okay, any other groups? Yes, go ahead, Anne, you want to grab a,
Do you broadcast, or is there a way to do like a YouTube live kind of thing? Okay, but not live, it's just that.
The problem that we have live in the summer is it's not consistent. We actually have, we're having a new, I don't know how to answer that. That's the thing. We're having a new circuit put in electric wise to reduce, there's a hump that should be taken care of. The second thing is, even with the changeover to broadband, having a consistent connection, and you need a consistent hardwired connection for some of these things, has been difficult.
How high a level did they subscribe to?
We have the best one,
The very best.
but as you know, Block Island in the middle of the summer is inundated with people. And even like the point of service, the POS systems and that, they go down. It's not, so I prefer to tape it and then put it up to YouTube.
yeah, and that's what we're doing today with our meeting. Well, not exactly, but, yeah, that's what we do with our meetings.
Sure.
Even if you're not actually doing, we could work with you on the.
Yeah, well, we are having a little bit of issue. It's that, it's the system's been put in for 4 years now. It's a saltwater environment where by then everything should be fixed and taken care of. I'm just hesitant right now because it's not yet.
Well, this is great, thanks.
Any other groups or points of contact that want to make a report?
Yeah, we had we were asked, I guess, it came up in conversation at the end of our last meeting. Should we have a name change? I think it was Martha who brought that up.
I
And
think that is letter to the town council recommending expansion of responsibilities and potential shift to coastal resilience. That's on our agenda. Is that what you're going to talk about?
yes.
Okay, let's wait till we get to item.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were other groups. Be helpful if I read if I read your agenda.
Well, you saw me have the same struggle.
Oh, here you go.
Oh, yeah, you saw me have the same struggle. Okay, so the next item on our agenda, are there any other groups? No, okay, is budget planning, and this is for 2024. On our previous agenda, I had 2025 and beyond and forgot this year. And so as this year has proceeded, the items on which we have wanted to spend money aren't the things we can spend money on, like food and stuff like that. And $2,000, how do we do something meaningful with $2,000? And I'm going to make a proposal, and you guys can do with it what you please. But I am going to propose that we give the $2,000 to Mike Shea's department and help him do something that's meaningful and sea level risey with it. Something that we can, say we did with the money that was meaningful to us, but we gave it to him because he's the executor. That's the other thing, is we don't have any budget execution authority. There's $2,000, but somebody else in the town has to spend the money, not us, because we're advisory. And the reason we have $2,000 in the budget is because I just begged them to give us something so that I knew what meetings to show up at. I shouldn't end with an at, but to which meetings to which I should attend or whatever. So that's my proposal. The fiscal year starts when? July 1st is 24. July 1st starts 2025.
Yes.
Okay, so we only have a few more, we only have a month and a half to spend $2,000. That's the other thing. So I'm making a proposal that we give our 2K to Mike Shea and we work with him to find a good coastal resilience sea level rise project that we can claim we did with the $2,000.
Should we ask Mike what he thinks about it?
Cool. Yes. Yeah. That we identify a project that he can help with, or he's already doing that. For example, grass, they put those big giant new dunes or whatever they are in front of the beachhead, and Kim was out planting. I know, Mike, pardon? Good for you. Good for you. The
remember
students were
correctly.
planting.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say, if I remember correctly, Kim, you didn't have quite as much grass as you would have liked. Is that true, or?
We ordered grass early before we knew.
They ordered gas early before they knew what they needed. Come on up to the mic. You heard me.
Grass was ordered early on, before we knew there was gonna be big dunes. We didn't know if there would even be dunes to plant, but you have to order early. And so and it covered pretty well. It went much farther than I thought it was going to. If we had more grass, we would do pathways on the beach side, but there's really no sand there right now. And so, and you can't get more grass
And you
now.
can't get more grass.
There was a big run on beach grass this year, because there are other big projects that wanted beach grass throughout the region. So, anyway, what was there an actual question? What was the question?
I was just wondering if you needed more, but if you can't get it.
We can't get it. And it's really too late. They held the beach grass for us. They like it to be planted between November and March or April at the very latest. And, they stored it, and it was in bucket, it came in good shape, which it normally wouldn't have this late. They really helped. But anyway, since I'm up here, I'm going to say the dune looks great. You took the sand from that washed into the inner harbor and made the bait dock unusable. You took clean sand and put it on the dune, where obviously the dune acts as a breakaway protection. It did what it was supposed to do, and the sand is going to go off again, and you can see over it soon, because it's just going to keep blowing like it has been for the last couple of years. Mike has done a great job of sweeping it up. And, things change. Put up a sand fence there. That might help too.
Thank you. Go ahead, Nigel.
I have a question for Mike. Do you have any, as it were, unbudgeted expenses that, and one of the things that came to my mind was, the winter storms made a real mess of all of the beach fencing, the symbolic fencing, a lot of broken posts and stuff. are they in the town budget already?
They've already been purchased. The rope has been purchased, the signs. We have some left over. Actually, we have enough for this year. We don't need to purchase any more signs.
Okay.
And that will be going in like in a week.
Okay,
Oh,
that's-
Yeah, before Memorial Day.
because I was
Fantastic.
thinking if you didn't have the money.
And
it should be good.
I had the guys talk to US Fish and Wildlife because they're doing, I think for the plovers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So just so we weren't getting in their way.
Yeah.
So we've coordinated with them too, as far as, you know, what we're doing and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Mohegan Bluffs, that is state, Department of, DEM, and that will be closed off this year. Now you can go down the bottom, but you can't go down the beach.
So this year, the stairs will be closed at the bottom of the stairs. and
Yes,
there
but there'll
will
be
it'll
signs,
Fenced
there'll be
off.
signs indicating that it's closed at the bottom. People will still go down there.
Of
but,
course.
It will be closed off.
Okay.
Razor wire?
No razor wire.
Proceed at your own risk.
Yeah, but so Mike, while you're up there, is a $2,000 shift from the sea level rise line item to yours, is it even meaningful, or is it just silly for me to even?
I wonder if it could be done July 1st, because in that way we'll have it for the following.
That's what I was gonna,
Because
that
we're-
was the other thing I was gonna say is, can we buy it now? Can we spend that $2,000 now for grass that comes next year? Like you buy it in advance, right?
Possibly.
Anyway, so. Oh, no, no, I know, it's just a suggestion, we're advisory. Yeah, but if we advise that $2,000 is sea level rise money, that it should be spent on a nature-based solution that's totally in our wheelhouse, that'd be a good use of that $2,000.
It would. But if we
Does that
can get
make
the
sense
grass,
to everybody on the committee?
we've got the stuff.
Yeah, so, anyway,
I can't think of anything else. That often comes up for you, that you don't have enough staff to continue to maintain the snow fencing or sand fencing. So if we're allowed as consist to do what we think we're doing, we can do,
Mhm.
then if there is an option to make an early purchase, then we can have that sort of money used this year for a product that we'll get early next year.
Yeah, I mean,
It sounds,
other than the grass, none of it's gonna go bad.
right, yeah.
We know we're gonna lose posts.
right.
We salvage what we can, but inevitably we lose a bunch. But I'll say, we started that about probably 2000 when we putting those posts and ropes in. And there was 10 years, we didn't have to touch them. But it's annually now.
Because the
Not all
dunes
of
are
them.
growing so much.
Yeah, not all of them.
Because
but,
you have to move them, right?
It has worked tremendously though, too. It's just a subtle reminder, don't go up there.
I think it's great,
And from my standpoint too, it's very low maintenance,
right?
which I love.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so Mike, don't be surprised. I gave him yeah.
Judy, so you're saying you have $2,000 in this current fiscal year that,
2024. Yep.
so why don't I just talk to finance about it? I mean, maybe can it roll over till next fiscal year, so that you just have more budget for next year, but I can
Right.
just ask finance about it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, 'cause I was just gonna ask, so for comparable advisory committees, do they get budget line items like this, and how do they go about allocating that?
I have no idea.
Wonderful.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery, and that's okay. I will I'll talk to the town clerk who was just here, and and actually I'll let Allison.
Know
pursue-
what the 2,000,
Yeah,
what
I'll
was
let
it,
Allison.
Was there anything specific that it was, that $2,000 was for? I mean, I understand it's Sea Level Rise Committee, but was it assigned any?
No,
No, okay, all right.
no. And what we had thought was, maybe we could spend it on, bringing in an expert, paying somebody to come in and run a meeting for us,
Yes.
or but we didn't do that. And so we're running out of year. And I thought this way
Yeah.
would be a good way to secure something that was sea level rise related. So, Allison, I really appreciate you looking into it, seeing if we can roll it over, and if we can't, then what can we spend it on that's meaningful?
Yep.
I don't want it to get swept up in year-end expenses.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what the feds do anyway. The feds sweep it all up and spend it wherever they have to. So,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Let's see, budget planning. Okay, letter to the town council regarding frequency of reports to the BI Sea Level Rise Committee. Is that what you were gonna talk about, Mary? No.
Reports from or to?
I think I'm, pardon? Yeah, so I think that we talked a bit about this at the last meeting. And I think I was supposed to draft. And I didn't do that, so I will, it's on again for the next time. Jeez Louise. Sorry about that, you guys.
Table.
We'll table it. Thank you. And I just put it as an action item for me. Okay. Letter to the town council recommending expansion of the Sea Level Rise Committee responsibilities and potential shift from sea level rise to coastal resilience. Mary.
Exciting. So that was discussed at the end of our last meeting, and Val and I said, okay, we'll do it. And then immediately Val left town. But she agreed to work with us, even though she was gone for family reasons. So thank you, Val and Glennie. And what we did was just look at other communities that were our size, going on the web, looking at other size communities like us, other islands our size, and kind of our vibe, if you will. Not a very technical term, but we, from those, and went to a few of their virtual meetings, dated meetings from a month ago or so, to get a sense of how their committees in these different towns operated and which ones sort of felt like us and felt like they had the similar history of us, that where they actually started with the name Sea Level Rise Committee and then evolved to another name and more obligations. So then we sort of took those, and Glennie took them and compiled them into two that seemed to really be a good fit, and rewrote those, especially in particular. It then led us to rewriting our mission, which was a sort of natural evolution. And Glennie can read those two mission rewrites. You can talk about that. And the name.
Yes.
The names options.
I believe the name that was decided is probably the most effective to move to is Coastal Resilience Committee, which is similar to a few communities in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. And so then the idea, I think this is a mission shift to both reflect what you folks have been doing, as well as maybe solidifying the actual role and capacity of the Sea Level Rise Committee / Coastal Resilience Committee. And again, I think that right now you're seeing this, the purpose of this meeting is to confirm the title and just have a discussion about the mission to kind of know where the next steps are. So the first mission option is kind of a nice big paragraph. It's the Coastal Resilience Committee is established to understand the potential threats to the island posed by sea level rise and to evaluate opportunities for adaptation and mitigation. By regularly engaging with the community aims to think collectively to recommend actions that will improve Block Island's coastal resiliency. The committee will use findings from community input and relevant data to advise the town, ensuring a more protected and resilient future for the island. So that's kind of just one big paragraph. Another option that you could move to is some other communities have kind of broken it down into more separate components, yeah. So a counter option is the Coastal Resilience Committee is established to gather current scientific data and build on community knowledge to advise the town on priority actions that will improve Block Island's coastal resiliency. This is done by, and then we have three major buckets, if you will, understanding the potential threats to the island posed by sea level rise, regularly engaging with the community to collect input and conduct outreach, and then finally evaluating opportunities for adaptation and mitigation amidst a rapidly changing climate. Yes, so that's, I like, the second one has the word advise in the first sentence, so it's to advise the town on priority actions.
And it was easier to take in rather than rewrite. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
It was easier to take in that breakdown rather than the rewrite of our original emission, which is just a lot to think about. I mean, it's smoother, the rewrite.
That's
Um,
actually, oh God,
Good.
but I was going to ask if Glennie could read the current one now.
Yes, I think it's at the top of your agendas.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I can give it one more. So the current mission, which is, I think, it's just one sentence that's about 4 lines of text. So it's the Sea Level Rise Committee is established to understand the potential local impacts posed by sea level rise, assess the community's vulnerabilities, engage citizens, and to assist the town assets, recommend and implement mitigation projects or other priority actions that will improve Block Island's coastal resiliency. So I think the main issue here was just that it was a lot of ideas packed into one sentence, so a little hard to follow. And then the component of implement is the role to implement or to advise. So I think that's why that was like the main content that was shifted.
It doesn't, I don't think these options expand.
They do not expand it. So
Clarify, because we took out a word that was clear, advise or implement.
yeah, we took out the word implement. Yeah. So it is actually perhaps it is technically a collapsing or shrinking of the. But I think it's more reflective of an advisory committee's role.
So maybe since it's not our decision, maybe the right next, since it's not our decision, maybe the correct next step is to put together the letter and give them a couple of choices and what we liked and didn't like about each, or, you know, with the pros and cons with each of the choices, and then give it to I mean, I think the title is, I mean, how can you can't get much more succinct, and I think it's time for us to write this letter to the town council and suggest that the name be changed and that the mission be changed to reflect the change from sea level rise to coastal resilience. And then give them a couple of, and here, by the way, here's some, we've been playing around with the mission, these are some of our ideas.
Right.
We're happy to write it, we're happy to do it, but we understand this, that it's really they wrote the mission last time. We did not.
Right.
Yeah.
You could combine that with your other one, be more efficient.
We could
Yeah.
combine it with the letter.
But how you want the reporting to go.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
More likely to read it. Good point.
Good point.
Nice.
Thank you, Kim. So please include in there the frequency of reporting that
Yes.
they would like to have from the Sea Level Rise Committee. Yeah. You know, it seems like everything, we got so much going on, and then we'd have periods when we don't have anything, but you know, so it's, you know, you don't.
needed.
Yeah, it could be as needed, but still, I have not been reporting as much as I probably should have. I'd like once a year, once every 6 months. Okay,
Just one more.
yeah,
Okay.
yes. Wait a minute, turn it on.
Just one more thought. We also ran into a committee, other small towns, small islands that had coastal resilience and climate change committee, but didn't take on climate change. Any thoughts from all of you about?
Well, yeah, so Anne says she could prefers the coastal resilience. The thing that's good about coastal resilience is it includes climate change. It's resilience to everything. And we're really focused on coastal stuff. Yeah, I think it's the most succinct and the best description of what we're doing. Climate resilience is absolutely included in there. Everything is. I mean, we're all the scales. Yeah. So biology, chemistry, physics, everything's included in that.
I like
Listening
the
to
idea-
stories.
Sorry, I'm
Go
just
ahead.
jumping in, listening. I do like the idea of using the word resilience in there rather than specific to sea level rise. I think that's more of the terminology that's used, a little more broad. And I just know, for example, like Barrington, their committee is Resilience and Energy Committee, but they also use the word resilience. So, and in regard to the mission statement, I would just say if you have a preferred, the Sea Level Rise Committee, if you have preferred language, like one of those, I would just submit
Just
that
tell
to the
them.
town council. Yeah, versus having them choose. I mean, they can certainly change what you've recommended, but I'm sure they'd be happy to have your recommendation as to your preferred language, and then they can tweak it if they'd like to, but rather than give them multiple options, might be easier for them to have you give them what you think is the best. I'm sure they'd, you know, defer to your.
In which case I liked number 2 better than number 1.
I'm not sure what the difference.
Oh, show it to Ann. No, but maybe show it to Ann. Yeah, let Ann read it and let her, yeah, because I'd like her to feel comfortable with it. And we have 10 more minutes. We're all ladies now, ladies and gentlemen. We have 10 more minutes. So I do want to get through that. We have some reporting to do. So I'm going to leave this with you guys. Trust you to send that letter. And
Judy, are we also combining it with how we're reporting?
yes, absolutely. No. All we're asking is what kind of report, what reporting would you like from this committee is the question. Yeah, like how often? Once a month, once every 6 months, every other month, whatever. And I'm gonna push this agenda right along.
But just really quickly.
Yes.
Back to what Allison was saying, giving them a recommendation. How often do we think we need to report would be better than just asking, right?
Yeah.
So quarterly? Well, we can always report we can always get on the agenda, but if I have a kick in the pants that I have to report in November, then I'm gonna work with you guys to have something to report. Yeah, let's go with,
I think so. Kim and I chatted with Keith, and he mentioned that maybe I think one of his suggestion was biannually, so twice a year plus when you have something to say.
okay.
So the idea is that gets you at like 3 to 4 times, right? Because ideally you're just regularly on there twice. and you
Oh,
have
that's
a
good.
project to bring up.
Well, especially since he suggested it and he's on.
Sure, so that might.
So put that in there that as part of this, we're gonna include this reporting.
And I'm happy to play a role in that liaison.
I understand. Yes, I will not be the only one reporting. I'm gonna power quickly. The letters to Senator Gu, Representative Spears and DiMario. I spoke with Millie and we, as an advisory council, it's inappropriate for us to send a letter. Who are we speaking on behalf of? Yeah, it should come from the town. So I'm going to send this letter to Millie asking that the town council send this letter of support. So the next meeting of the town council is May 22nd. And so I will get this to her like today when I get home. Yes. Kim, you want to come up to the mic though? Because we do want to hear what you have to say.
Very simple. You add that to your letter. I mean, it is one of the advisories you're making along with how often you meet and the recommend change of mission, all one thing.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so instead of sending it to Millie, I'm sending it,
Yeah, if you just shoot us a paragraph or two. Yeah.
I'm sending it to Glennie.
Yeah, if someone passes me a sense of what you're, yeah.
Glennie, if you don't get that to me, from me tonight, you're gonna nag me.
I'm
Okay.
not nagging you in Africa.
No, I'm still here today and tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. 24 hours to nag me. Man, oh. Oh boy, I like the way you think. Ms. Gaffett. Okay, all right. All right, here we go. I'm gonna move on to the next one. URI Coastal Institute opportunity. This is the one I had a brain fart on last month, and now I can tell you that the Coastal Institute at URI has climate response demonstration sites. They are looking at how different climate adaptation strategies are being employed in different sites. So right now they have sites at Roger Williams Park, the East Bay, Barrington, and all those other communities that flood. Westerly, Pete August and what he's doing over in Westerly. And they're, due to Brian Oakley, our champion, they are considering expanding to include Block Island because they're looking for a really different environment and we have it, with the high energy beaches and stuff like that. Everything they're doing is place-based and unique. One of the things they raised that they thought was really interesting about Block Island was our reliance on the Port of Galilee. They think that they could really help us. They can assist with the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank grant that we've already gotten. If we have engineering questions or other help like advisory, they can step in. The fellow that I'm working with is Nate Vinhetiero, and it's VIN hate HATEIRO. So Nate Vinhetiero, is that who you've been working with? He's really a nice guy. And the other thing that he brought up was the story maps. They have story maps on their website. And so it's, by the way, I pulled it up. And the website, ci.uri.edu. So it's the coastalinstitute.uri.edu. And then search. But this is so this is the Coastal Institute Climate Response Demonstration Sites. And they're providing funding for research and monitoring gaps, serving as conveners and connectors to external expertise, linking URI students and faculty to local coastal issues, supporting pilot projects that demonstrate community resilience and catalyze funding, and develop a transferable framework to share data and best practices. So they're really people that I think we want to plug in with. And one of the things that they really like about Block Island is the fact that there's a sea level rise committee, so they have people to plug in too. And the work that we did with Chris Baxter and Malcolm Spalding is now coming home to roost. Is that he heard about, how great the experience was with the capstone students. And so that's also another reason why they're really interested in joining us with us. It wasn't just the chili. No. Okay. So I want to tell you about that. I want to talk about the conversations with Terry Gray because we had a nice meeting with Director Gray on May 7th. Yeah. And no, that's today. Yeah. So it was, I can't remember when we had it. That's on here for me to discuss on May 7th. But do you want to say anything about it? Okay. He talked about legislation to create a study commission on beach nourishment, to create a framework for the state on beach nourishment. he talked about how different ways that homeowners are working together, the Musquamacut Business Association, and having homeowners involved, he said it provided the best traction for getting an independent study to get, yeah. So I think he was complimenting us where we have the Sea Level Rise Committee and that's helping to catalyze stuff. In May, there was an executive order on resilience. The DEM hired Kim Coriath, and she's working with Caitlin Chafee on a grant, the NOAA grant. The grant, it has 5 regional coordinators in it that the towns could go to for technical assistance to design a project, get engineering, all the stuff I just listed from URI. Now, these 5 regional coordinators are things that DEM is considering whether they get the grant or not. But because I brought up the fact that I thought they had pretty low chance of getting the grant because they weren't regional enough. That was just my opinion. I said, so what are you going to do if you don't get the grant? And he says, well, we're really committed to doing these, getting these coordinators established. I don't know how they'll do it, but he, that was, I believe so. That was how it was described. Is that how you understood it, Nigel? That there were geographically distributed versus, I think it might be technical expertise too.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think that they're going to be, I don't know. I don't know. He told us to get an MRP 2.0 meeting as soon as possible, be an early adopter because DEM wants success stories and he wants to be kept posted on what we're doing. And he thought maybe Caitlin Chafee could help us with a template for the application for funding for MRP 2.0. I did bring up my concern about the reporting requirements that were listed in there, Allison. I was your champion. But they are what they are. We talked about the Oscar grants that are now available. We didn't really fit into the Oscar grants. If you looked at the specifics, there wasn't anything really there for us. And besides, we're right now kind of at our limit with managing the grants that we have. And if we're going to get more, we need more bodies. So I'm trying to be sensitive to that. So our IDM he's like, we will help you with technical assistance. Yes, super positive.
They did, Judy, I just got an email this afternoon, from Kim about reaching out, about scheduling a meeting for that, like MRP project identification, next round of funding, Oscar. So, that's
Excellent.
something they wanted, they reached out to the towns that are in the program to, set something up, over the next 2 weeks. So, the town will certainly join in. I forwarded it to you and Glennie as well. And
Oh, thank you.
Marianne received it. So I'm gonna talk to Marianne about it, but, yeah, so that is upcoming this month.
One of the things that he mentioned was for the city of Warren or the town of Warren, they have something called Market to Medicom. They're moving a community. And it was designed to stabilize the town's long-term tax base. That was what their basis for decision-making was. And he said it's a really expensive thing to do, but it's a smart way to look at it. They're getting state and local funds. And he mentioned Kate Michaud, who did a lot of work on this and about how important it was to have her to get the concept started. But it's something to look at, Market to Medicom and what they're doing in Warren.
They have a neighborhood that's, highly susceptible to funding, a lot of, residential properties, commercial
Yep.
properties.
Yep.
So.
I've been down
not
there.
necessarily the case on Block Island where you
Right.
don't have, a lot of structures that are in a flood zone.
Well,
But.
Not yet.
Well,
Not communities. That's right. But we do have, go ahead, Nigel, you're going to say something.
The one thing I was going to say about beach replenishment is I really got the sense that he's not a big fan. It's incredibly expensive. And my sense was that he really doesn't think that it's something that would be likely appropriate for here because of the cost relative to the size of the community and so on.
Yeah, and I mean, it's cost versus size of community, but it's also how dynamic our beaches are.
Yeah,
It's one thing to do it up in the bay, and it's something else entirely to do it on Block Island, which is part of the reason why URI is interested in us, because the solutions out here are going to be different than the solutions in other parts of the state.
obviously, if we have more of these winter storm situations each year, filling up the old harbor with sand, which has to be removed, that actually would give us a source which could be dumped on, Baby Beach and allowed to then just move its way up
Right.
the coast. And that, I think, would not be a bad approach.
That's, yeah. One thing that did come up, because Mike Shea was part of the meeting, was he said the Bimmy intersection is the road crew's #1 priority. Can we get a backflow preventer? And the answer was that the MRP action grant can fund something like that, Allison. So I thought that was very interesting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would that was in our the Corneck Road. I was just looking at the Corneck Road transportation study for the Bridgegate Square area. Is that what you're
No,
mentioning?
No, this
Oh.
is the Bimmy intersection, which is a north end of Ocean Avenue. It's where the sewage pump out, but for the boats is located. And it's the Payne's Dock, that area. And that came up, was raised by Mike Shea as a priority because they need a backflow preventer. Oh, you know what? I wonder
But
if that's what
that's-
we should focus on for the
That
money.
was that I was just looking at that after our meeting today.
Yeah,
And that was a solution that was mentioned in the Corneck Road transportation study for Bridgegate Square. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's the same exact, the concept of not like keeping the tidal water out of the drainage.
right, right.
So
Um,
my thinking about that for the Bimmy area was that although clearly the water does back up the drains there, the question is that really the major source of flooding? Because a lot of the land route there is so low that water coming in directly from the Great Salt Pond, I think, certainly with any significant rise in water level, is just going to go straight over the top anyway.
I guess it would be how long? like
Right.
How long of a time you have, but there's more than one thing going on there, and definitely the sea level rise is an impact, but there's drainage issues as well. So
Right.
I would think if Mike is recommending it, it's the drainage issues that we're having.
Yeah, although he's addressing not so much the drainage as as it were, the reverse flow
It's
up the
backing-
drain.
but it's
Yes.
Backing up, but
yes.
that's, when I say the drainage, it's the drainage not being able to go out, right? He's
Well, but if there's, I mean, the trouble is that, the road levels there are so low and, you're surrounded by Great Salt Pond, Trims Pond on both sides of the road. So, to protect that is
I'm not sure exactly where he's saying, but
right.
there's a few things going on. So I said, so some of it's topographical and you have kind of weird lumps and bumps down there.
Sure. Oh, sure.
And so
sure.
unless I knew exactly,
Yeah, I
couldn't
think it's all
comment.
pressurized. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not, it's the backflow preventer that he was looking for.
Right, right.
Because it's, the system's under pressure. It's not a gravity flow system.
Yeah.
It can't be. It's got to go up and over got to go up the hill to the police station. So, anyway,
What, the drainage?
no, the sewage.
No, we're not talking about
Talking
sewage
about
here. We're
stormwater.
talking about simple drainage of
Oh, okay.
flood
Stormwater.
waters. Yes. And, I mean, it would be nice to have more observational information.
Yes,
at the
Nigel.
time when,
We'll
you know,
put your
some.
tie gauge up on the pole right next to Bimmy.
That's what I get. We gotta do that.
And
Talking
We-
about
we-
that for
we-
years.
We were refused permission by Bimmy.
Oh, we were?
Building, but there's a pole right near it.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Um,
Okay, anything else? I'm just gonna, the proposal to White House, I'm gonna table that discussion because I don't think we've any word back yet. And I just want to remind everybody that on June 4th, our next meeting, Annette Grilly is gonna be here to talk about the proposal for which she has received funding. It has been approved. She just doesn't have any money yet. Because it's the federal government and they mostly pump their money out in June. So, especially I know that Sea Grant funds, and I know they're desperately trying to get all the money out before June 30th.
All the principal investigators on. Chris Baxter, Brian Oakley, Nate.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, what she's gonna do. No, yes, I mean, she's gonna talk about what their proposed research will do. Yeah. I usually have them talk like 45 minutes and then questions, and then we have like a half an hour for regular discussions of stuff. But if you have, it depends on, if we have more stuff to do, then I can squeeze her down a little bit. But I think people will be really interested to hear what she has to say.
Were we able to find the last Zoom meeting when she came to speak with us, February or something, 2023?
Laurel?
Or was it 2022? Oh, you did? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Missed that. Thank you.
Okay, we're 20 minutes over. Man, last time we were 20 minutes or 10 minutes over. Last time we were 20 minutes short. Is there anything else that we need to talk about, or can I ask for a motion to adjourn? Oh, so thank you, Valerie. Oh, thank you, Nigel. All right, 4:40. Thanks, everybody. Wow, that was a lot of stuff.
So when I left the room, it was because I